I'm a female teen and I have two brothers, 18 and younger teen. We lost our mom when I was 3 and our dad remarried stepmom a year later. It felt like they'd known each other for about a month when they got married, but it's possible they were together longer. About a month after Mom died, Dad was in a widows and widowers group, and that's how he met his wife Beth. Beth lost her husband and had no kids. When they got married, they sat us down and told us Beth was going to adopt us. My older brother and I objected, but we were ignored. Around that time, we heard some extended family try to talk them out of it as well, saying we would be taken care of if anything happened to our father, no need to go through with the adoption. Beth told them that she was our mother now and the adoption needed to happen. We spoke to a social worker and the judge before the adoption occurred. Initially, their request was rejected based on our conversations, but then they came up with a story that we'd have nobody else to take care of us, and our family had already said they wouldn't raise us if anything happened to Dad, and it was done. We had new birth certificates since the adoption. Her name is in the place of our mother. Found that out when I gave my mom's name in school one day and had to bring in my birth certificate and saw Beth's name. My brothers had no idea that happened either. It made my older brother angry so much that he told Beth he hoped she would die and we could be adopted again since she was far more replaceable than Mom. That incident made Beth and our father put him into therapy with them. That lasted for 2 years until he moved out last year. He then asked our maternal grandparents to adopt him since he couldn't find a way to reverse the adoption. Recently, Beth and my father have figured out that I want to do the same, and so does my younger brother. Beth broke down and said she just wanted the chance to be a mother and wanted us to love her back. My father suggested we all go to therapy, separate sessions with each of us, and try to work out a compromise. I told him it was too late for that. They'd already erased Mom and nothing they could say would make me feel different about what they did. I told Beth we were never her children and she would need to accept that she would never be loved back. My father told me that wasn't true. We could still work something out, like have our grandparents adopt us but call him and Beth Mom and Dad, and let them still be parents and grandparents in the future. When I said there was no room for compromise and it was too late, they said I was being so unfair. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but your father and Beth sure are. Beth is the kind of stepmom that gives stepparents a bad name. She wanted to adopt you and your brothers because she just wanted a chance to be a mother. So she hijacked the 3 of you and promptly erased your mom's memory. But your father is even worse because he allowed all this to happen over your wishes, and so quickly after your mom's death. It just sounds like he wanted to get a replacement mom in the door as quickly as possible so the family could regain a semblance of normalcy, but in the process, he prioritized Beth's agenda over his kids' feelings and well-being. Mother-child bonds and love can't be forced, and this is what he tried to do. Do you know what those groups practice? Not making life-altering decisions for at least a year, and allowing children time to grieve too. Opie's dad did so much wrong, and bringing another grieving widow into his situation so they could fill voids in each other, instead of doing the difficult work of recovery, was dumb. Let's be real. Opie's dad remarried so quickly because he needed someone to do emotional and household labor and help raise his 3 young children. Don't go to therapy with liars until you have a relationship with a therapist who understands what you're dealing with and is committed to being on your team. And maybe, are you in possession of any photos of your mom? You might want to hunt those down now. I would also contact the hospital where you were born to see how you can get a copy of your original, unaltered birth certificate. They lied before a judge, so that might be an avenue to delete the adoption. For context, our neighbour's son Nick is the same age as our daughter Ava and a great friend of hers. They're both young children. My wife, 35, and I, 36 female, have him over for the day very often, and our daughter goes to see him during the day as well. Overall, they're both great kids and excellent friends. We have an aquarium in the house with 8 fish in it. Nick and Ava have named all of the fish and enjoy feeding them and spending time with them while they play in our house. Nick was in our house, his parents were out and sent him over, when unfortunately one of the fish passed away. His name was Mr. Bubbles. Ava and Nick were very sad and cried over him. After they calmed down, my wife and I prepared a memorial with a grave in the backyard and a formal ceremony. Nick and Ava drew pictures of Mr. Bubbles and they wrote a sentence from each of the other fish, Mr. Bubbles' friends, to read at the ceremony. We buried the pictures and the notes with him. At the very end, Nick asked if he was asleep. I already had this conversation with Ava when my wife's father passed away, so she would sometimes join me in my answers, but overall the conversation was something like this. I said he wasn't asleep and that sleep is not the same as death. He asked how they were different. I said sleep is another way of existing for the living, while death is simply the absence of life and everything that keeps someone alive. We talked a little more about this. He asked if Mr. Bubbles would come back, and I said he wouldn't, but he would always exist in Nick's mind, and that is very meaningful. He asked if he was in heaven, and I said I don't know. The next day, my wife got a call from Nick's mom, saying we shouldn't have talked to him about this and that we were not his parents and we were overstepping boundaries, especially because they wanted Nick to believe in the concept of heaven and purgatory. Now, I had the conversation only because he was desperate for some answers and he was comfortable, but I still wonder if I overstepped a boundary. His parents were out and sent him over. When you delegate a child's care to someone else, you also delegate things like discipline, teaching, and life lessons. If his parents don't want things said to their kid, they can't use you as childcare. I say not the idiot. You answered in a way that was age appropriate. Also, you didn't say that heaven didn't exist. Instead, you gave a neutral answer. The fish dies in front of the kid. There was no pretending, and you handled it as diplomatically as possible to allow for his family beliefs by saying you don't know where he went. You did not say, there is no heaven and God, kid, bwahaha, and no Santa, ha ha ha. And if he had said, yes, Mr. Bubbles is in heaven, there would have been some rant about animals not having souls. The only thing I do differently is maybe to add a bit, I don't know, ask your parents, they probably do. However, this was a fantastic learning experience for Nick, one handled with compassion and honesty. His parents should be thankful. My boyfriend, 29, and I, 23 male, are pretty affectionate and like to display that affection. Nothing too crazy, just holding hands, maybe some cuddling when in the right environment, and a peck here and there. Nothing straight people don't do routinely. When we're at his parents', we tone it down, not because they're uncomfortable, but because his brother, 26, is, and we don't want to deal with the stupid crap he says under his breath. There've also been a few instances of me and my boyfriend holding hands or just pecking on the cheek, and him saying some stupid crap like, I don't want to see that crap. Recently, my boyfriend's brother introduced his girlfriend to everyone. She stays over there a lot since boyfriend's brother lives with their parents. So there have been occasions where they will be full-on making out in the living room or groping each other. This irks me since when my boyfriend and I do anything, he has a tiny fit. So my boyfriend and I decided no more holding back, he would just have to deal with it. We still keep it respectful, no making out or groping, just little displays of affection, as I said. For some clarification, their parents absolutely don't mind, and since we haven't held back, they've said they feel relieved. We finally feel comfortable around them enough to not have to worry about policing ourselves. I absolutely love his parents, LOL. One night we were having a movie night, me, my boyfriend, parents, brother and his girlfriend. It's a movie night, so I'm cuddling into his chest while his arm is wrapped around me, nothing nobody else is doing. Out of nowhere, his brother bursts into a crap fit, saying he won't have our disgusting crap in his house and some slurs that you can probably guess. After his little tantrum, his parents kicked him out of their house and won't allow him back. Now boyfriend and I are playing block whack-a-mole with his extended family, calling us horrible crap for making his brother homeless, he's couch surfing. His parents are also getting crap, but they have assured me it's alright, but I feel guilty that this has caused so much drama for my boyfriend and his lovely parents, all over a damn cuddle. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your boyfriend's brother's behaviour is the reason he's homeless. I admire you guys for keeping your cool and not contributing to the cursing and name-calling. Anyway, why is a 26-year-old couch surfing instead of finding a studio place to rent and stay? Maybe there's a reason your boyfriend's parents grew tired of his behaviour, and this incident was the final straw before they snapped. This boy sounds like a real treasure. I can just imagine how happy all the people he stays with are. I'm just amazed they have time to say anything to anyone while they're all busy fighting to see who gets to keep the precious little nugget. So much not the idiot here. You probably did his parents a huge favour. Brother is living with the consequences of his own actions. You are not the cause of this. Brother caused this by being a jerk. He had a choice. If this really disturbed him, he simply could have left the room instead of throwing a tantrum. Also, it's the parents' house. They're the ones who make the rules, not brother. The tactic of getting friends or family to gang up on someone like brother is doing is typical of people who are naturally abusive or just plain bullies. It's the sign of cowardice, and I'm sure there is an easy way for him to no longer be homeless, apologise, and agree not to throw tantrums while living with his parents. When my wife and I married, we decided that she would be a stay-at-home mom. She's Russian and has gone no contact with her family since around the time we got married, since they're awful. She came here as a student. We have a young daughter. Our arrangement was that I gave her an allowance for buying anything she wanted for herself. Then I paid for other expenses that we both agreed on, so I make more than enough for all of us. It's always been a point of contention, and she wanted me to increase her allowance. Sometimes when we disagree on a purchase, like a toy for our daughter, she will use her allowance to get it and then expect me to reimburse her allowance for it. Additionally, she wants to buy expensive makeup and use it even for just going out to see friends casually. Recently, since our daughter started school, she started doing a few gig jobs like dog walking. I wasn't for it, but I couldn't stop her from doing what she wanted. However, the time she spends doing that means that she has less time to be a stay-at-home mom, so I told her recently that I expect her to pay for the house expenses proportionally to what she earns. She disagreed, and I said I could just reduce her allowance as she now earns. She got quite angry with me and we fought. Things seem better now, but sometimes I feel she's still a little upset. She used some minor things against me, like the few times I asked her for money as I didn't have any change for small purchases. Was I the idiot here? It's only fair to change the arrangement now that she works. You are the idiot. Financial abuse has entered the chat. Congratulations, though. I've never before seen a man get cranky because his wife likes to wear makeup when she's meeting up with friends. Why do you treat your wife as a kid rather than an equal partner in the marriage? She's your wife, not a roommate, not a slave or a child. Jesus, you sound super controlling. Legally, half of your money is hers anyway. Stop trying to control her. Is your allowance the same as hers? I'm a stay-at-home mom and work part-time. All the money goes into our account, and we sit down and do a budget every month. We each have our own account that we move personal spending to each week. It's the same amount for both of us. You are essentially paying her to be your wife and homemaker. She was obviously more vulnerable to this abuse since you chose someone without a family to help her. What the heck do you know about makeup? Women are under a lot of pressure to keep up appearances, and let's not kid ourselves. You'd be here posting about how you're mad she's letting herself go if she wasn't. You don't have a wife or want a wife. You desire a housekeeper who will sleep with you. Hopefully she's stashing her earnings away so she can leave you. Update. I get it. I am an idiot. I know I have controlling restrictions on her. We rushed into marriage for her visa issues, as she couldn't find a job and married me. I always intended to lessen them once I trusted her, and I realize I really do. My dad insisted I be careful because of what people say about Russian brides. She has an Ivy degree in physics, and I know her dream is to be in science. I'll talk to her if she still wants to get a master's or try getting jobs again now that she has permanent residence. And I'll tell her to just use the shared account for any expenses, as long as it's not like a $1,000 expense. I got married about a month ago and we were able to go on a 3-week honeymoon in Europe, so this was my first week back at work. This was possible because my wife's family paid for the whole wedding, so we could use what my parents planned to contribute for the honeymoon and then combine all we'd saved with all the gift money as a down payment on a house. The only catch is that my wife's family is from an anti-alcohol religion, and they not only said they would only pay for a dry wedding and would only ever come to New York from Utah for that. My wife was leaving the religion as we met in college and is fully out now. To their credit, the parents haven't excommunicated her, but whenever we're out there to visit, we fully have to play the part. No drinking, no cursing, church on Sunday, and I sleep on the couch. I don't want to get wasted at my wedding anyway, plus my parents got them to at least allow champagne for toasts. My parents paid for that, so we didn't feel it necessary to mention this on the invites, but apparently, having a dry wedding in New York requires notification. The reception was at the same place as the ceremony, so as the bride and I were about to enter, we were in the hallway, and I saw my co-worker and her husband making for an exit, and we asked where they were going as we were about to enter. Co-worker was at a loss for words, but the husband straight up said, "Heading out, kinda in bad taste, not to mention a wedding is dry on the invite." Now, we didn't particularly care these two were leaving, but my wife was worried it was a sign of things to come. She was right. Not only were more than half the wedding attendees gone before the cake, but other people also expressed their displeasure. So there are two conflicts. First, my father-in-law made a comment about how disrespectful everyone leaving was and that my friends and family reflected poorly on me. I snapped and said it was because of the BS I agreed to follow and that he should know going forward that my wife and I will not be conforming to any of his standards, and if he wants to keep seeing us, expect me to drink and speak the way I actually do in real life and never even attempt to ask me about church. He said I was way out of line, since he can't curse, and stormed off. Secondly, when I returned to work, I told the first co-worker her husband was extremely rude and I didn't want to remain friends outside of work. Another co-worker who stayed longer at the wedding jumped in to take her side, saying it was crappy. I didn't mention it being a dry wedding, as I knew people would RSVP no, and that he definitely would have, even though he agreed the husband shouldn't have been so blunt. I told him that we can strictly work moving forward as well. Am I the idiot for all this? Everyone's the idiot here. They offered to pay and you accepted the money because you agreed to their terms. Getting crappy with them because your guests left because of your decision is ridiculous. Your co-workers are idiots because you go to a wedding to celebrate the bride and groom's marriage. If you don't like how they celebrate, that's fine, but you keep your opinions to yourself. Your in-laws are idiots because they insisted on this crap in the first place. This is basically a mess. I agree, everyone's the idiot here, and here is yet another perfect illustration of why people should pay for their own weddings. Do you want a wedding that is authentic to your values? Pay for it yourself. Or accept the attached strings and remember that it allowed for a down payment on a house, and shut up. The real idiots are the guests that felt compelled to tell OP they were leaving because there was no free booze and to say that they should have been notified. It sounds like OP invited people who didn't like him. Why? To get gifts for a new home? Don't be surprised when they have no loyalty. If you won't serve alcohol, then have a show, a cool band, something. Don't expect people to sit there for hours on end. Expecting your co-workers to sit at a table full of people they probably don't know and just hang around for hours after dinner is delusional.